an island nation laid waste by a history of slavery, economic domination, and brutal violence, who will dare to lend a helping hand? Only those with the courage of their convictions.
There I was at the end of all my human reason, in a state of real despair about what do you do when you run out of hope. I locked myself in my bedroom, and I had an old Bible I had had as a teenager before I became an atheist, and I opened it up and I started to read it again. I can't tell you I saw somebody in that room. I didn't. I can't tell you I heard an audible voice in that room. I did not. But I very definitely met somebody that night. And that night, this friend that I met promised me that if I would give that little bit of me that was still alive, he would not only keep that little bit of precious thing alive, he would help me live. At that point, I knew he was Jesus.
Tina Simpson Leslie became an evangelical Christian pastor. Today, Tina is at the Toronto International Airport with suitcases packed with medical supplies. She's about to board a plane for a country with a bad reputation. She's seen the travel advisories. She knows about the recent kidnappings. She understands that the political situation is volatile. But if she's worried, she's not showing it.
Hi, I'm Tina Simpson Leslie, and we are going to Haiti.
I don't know as much about how the government situation operates in Haiti right now. I just don't, because it all changed.
The latest change in Haiti's violent history came in 2004, when elected Prime Minister Aristide was ousted by a coup followed by a bloody rebellion. Whoever benefited, it wasn't the average Haitian citizen. Haiti remains the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, with a desperate need for medical supplies. After a 5-hour flight, Tina's plane touches down on a crumbling runway. She is only one of many evangelical volunteers who've arrived in Port-au-Prince today. Retrieving the precious medical supplies, she arranges delivery to a Christian medical clinic via a trusted driver. Tina will find her own way to the clinic. From Port-au-Prince Airport to the Northwest Haiti Christian Mission is an 8-hour journey by road. The same road taken in 2005 by missionary Phil Snyder when he was shot and held for ransom.
The roads are bad. Most of the road is not paved, it's mud. You drive through one river after another and past some astounding scenery. I don't know how to describe Haiti. Haiti is at once the most beautiful place I have ever been. And yet at the same time, it's the most pitiful place I've ever been. Whenever you start to see what you're actually looking at, it's somewhat devastating. It's hard to see people so hungry that they take turns on who can eat that day.
Haiti's crushing poverty has its roots in history. In the 17th century, France conquered the island and imported enslaved Africans to grow sugarcane. These Africans generated vast wealth for their overseers until 1801, when they staged a successful rebellion and declared independence. Napoleon agreed to recognize the new country, but only if Haitians compensated ex-slave owners for economic losses. And so Haiti started out with a crushing debt equal to 150,000 francs, enough to cripple the new country's economy. What followed was a history of intra-racial conflict, U.S. invasions to protect commercial interests, and beginning in the 1950s, an era of brutal dictatorships. At the turn of the 21st century, UN-sponsored elections offered new hope. The victor, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, promised better things for average Haitians. But this promise was too radical for local oligarchs, who engineered a coup to install a regime friendly to economic development. The kind of development that pays Haitian workers $2.25 a day, if they're lucky.
I am not at all involved with the politics of Haiti. In fact, we try not to be. There's an old saying that kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall, but the word of God endures forever. We're here to love people.
In the late afternoon, Tina and other volunteers arrive safely at the Northwest Haiti Christian Mission. They will set up their own accommodations on the roof.
I like sleeping outside. This is my bed. There's really a pillow and a sheet here. But I keep a tarp over everything so that at night, if it starts raining, I just pull the tarp up over my head.
The mission's valuable medical supplies are most vulnerable at night. As darkness falls, the gates are locked up tight. A new morning dawns at the Northwest Haiti Christian Mission. Security guards report that last night passed without incident.
It gets warm.
Tina and other newly arrived volunteers sort medical supplies, becoming part of an ambitious effort to provide health care for thousands of people. The mission couldn't do it without the Haitians themselves.
We employ Haitians as pharmacy assistants, as teachers, medical laboratory staff. We do internships with Haitian native doctors.
While she's here, Tina will rely on one Haitian in particular, Elvis.
He's a wonderful young man. He's a Christian. He was raised at the orphanage. He's actually written a book on Creole for the English-speaking person.
A man of many talents, Elvis works at the mission as an interpreter and gives a portion of his salary to his biological parents. Elvis grew up poor, but he has never been lacking in hope.
As you can see, this is just amazing. I mean, the mission keeps getting bigger and bigger. We even have about 300 employees. I mean, it's a lot. It's so great.
Today, Elvis helps deliver relief to a nearby shantytown.
We have boys that have been in the nutrition program. They carry the food down the mountain to the elderly ones and feed them in their home.
People are glad to see the volunteers, but they're not just waiting around for a helping hand.
She's got some chocolates. She buys big bags, the whole big bags, and she tries to resell them just to get some profits out of it. Quel âge again? Quel âge? I'm 80. 80. She's guessing.
Merci beaucoup.
Bon appétit.
A sudden downpour delays food delivery.
When it rains, and there are torrential rains where water just runs through the houses, a woman sometimes will stand for days, if it rains for 3 days, holding the baby in her arms because she can't put the baby down.
Tina is assigned to help dispense medical care in a remote village.
What we did was pack all of the medicines into suitcases, and we're literally going to run a pharmacy right out of these suitcases up in the mountains.
Tina and Elvis travel with a team of doctors, nurses, and volunteers, and one armed guard to encourage potential thieves and kidnappers to think twice.
Many of our highways lie through rivers, and we hope that the water doesn't come up the pickup truck. It'll ruin a lot of medicine if it gets in.
After a 2-hour climb onto a desert plateau, people and medicine arrive safely. The same can't be said for Tina's hat.
I'm wearing this shirt on my head because I lost my hat, and the sun is just too hot.
Today, we're going to set up a clinic. We're going to set up our medicine in some kind of organized fashion and get the doctor seeing patients. A lot of these people haven't seen a doctor in a very, very long time.
The medical team proceed to clinic with prayer.
For us here, we believe that the mission is very important because this is something that we've been waiting for a long time ago. They bring the hospital people, the doctors, they take care of us without paying any money.
She speaks a little English. No. She doesn't want to say. She has stomach aches when she has worms. Is that what she's saying?
Donc le gain le ventre par le sévère le ventre mal là.
Oui. Yes.
Michael? And Darylus?
My first son.
Ah, I have medicine for you. For you. We thought we only had about 35 patients when we arrived. We've been here for more than 4 hours, and it appears that we have another 100 more to see. There are little communities in all of these hills, and the reason they're arriving in larger quantity as time goes by is because it's taken them that long to get here.
And we are thankful to the mission, and we hope that they will keep thinking about us to do good, better things for us in the future.
Tina's convoy sets off again, traveling further into the mountains to spend the night at a remote clinic run by a veteran missionary, Miss Pat.
Miss Pat is like mom to a lot of missionaries.
Pat has worked in various Haitian missions for the past 25 years.
We started coming out and doing medical clinics and distributing food off of a truck. And we got out here and we found out that it was really in trouble. And so we just moved out, started. Oh, you couldn't do it without God here. Haiti's not an easy country to live in. Everything you do is basic.
Let's kitchen table in. That'll be fine.
There are so many countries that are starving and just don't have the basic necessities of life. This little guy was a twin, and his twin died. We thought we were going to lose him, and he made it. I really feel that America's very wasteful, and that they're going to be held responsible for it.
As shadows lengthen at the end of the short Caribbean day, Christian volunteers and locals take a much-needed break as Dr. Lil Pop hooks on.
We oftentimes think we're high and mighty enough that we're better on some level than other people, and we are not. As children of God, we are the same.
First thing tomorrow, the volunteers will return to the mission to perform surgery. Their patients are already waiting. This morning, the lineups are long for the free clinic at the Northwest Haiti Mission Hospital. People continue to arrive from the town, the countryside, and even other cities.
Yeah, we serve everybody. We are a Christian mission, but they do serve everybody.
Even our local drug lord has had his children come to the mission when they needed help. One was born here that would not have made it if he hadn't been born here. So we don't really know who people are and what they do. We help them when they come.
She has a big something, as you can see, on her head. Yeah, she's in a pain, she said.
Here, people must find the strength to live with serious chronic conditions.
Bring this with him when he comes to the high blood pressure clinic.
This is the only place on earth I've ever seen people walking around with blood pressures of 250 over 150. It's outrageous how high they get. And they can still live.
She can come with me.
I love it. Okay, thank you, Marco.
And nobody else in right now, Shermone, or we'll get confused.
Okay.
We really need to have more doctors coming. We're almost a standing emergency room at all times.
When there are people here that come for miles and they'll wait for a year or months for me to get back, and there's people in the States that are upset because they have to wait 10 minutes to get a pain pill, it just puts everything in perspective.
We have experienced some difficulty getting donations of medicine and vitamins. In some cases, people would prefer to give to a completely secular organization.
Antibiotics are like gold.
They save lives. They're the most valuable thing for saving lives. That and prayer. Prayer's the most valuable.
Let them know that we're here. I'm here to pray with them. Dame ça là, c'est parce qu'à prier ensemble avec nous là. Heavenly Father, Céleste Père, we come before you. Nous venons devant vous, giving you thanks and praise. Nous bas louange, adoration.
For Tina and her fellow evangelicals, no secular organization can provide everything the people need.
God bless you.
Especially not on an island where so many believe in voodoo. Voodoo priests, even those in poor circumstances, claim great power.
These are the witch doctors. They are the ones to let us in. I mean, they own this place. Some people believe that if they are sick, they believe that they can be healed here.
For Haitians, even Christian Haitians, voodoo is bound up in their sense of national identity.
He said voodoo is something that we have in our independence. You know, when we had to be free, we killed the pig. I mean, we drank its blood and everything. It was because of voodoo that we are independent now.
For many, the goal is to lose oneself and become one with good. In this perfection, good does not triumph over evil, but instead, the two are reconciled. Voodoo priests don't try to hide their dark side, but that's all Tina sees.
It's a system of bad choices. And even though it's a cultural system, you still love them. And you say that, look, you can make some better choices here.
Tina is more polite about it than her mentor, Pat.
My basic opinion is Haiti is not going to change until they change their attitude toward God. A lot of your people are still basically voodoo, and they still worship Satan. And as long as they worship Satan, I don't think Haiti is going to advance much. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel.
Surprisingly, those on the voodoo side accept the Christians.
We really appreciate this, the missionaries coming to Haiti, because, I mean, they help us with the future of our kids.
And while the mission staff help kids, some evangelical volunteers take suffering as a spiritual opportunity.
There was a mother, well, she's still there. She's downstairs, and her baby is going to have surgery in the morning. And the mother was really upset. She was in there crying, so I asked if she wanted me to pray with her. She said yes. She didn't know who Jesus was. And in that short period of time, we had to do a crash course, and she said she's going to make that choice to accept the Lord in her life. And tonight she did. So I think we need to give God all the glory.
Tina chooses to share her faith in a different way.
I think the greatest thing that I can give to the Haitian people while I'm here is any person who makes eye contact with me, to let the love that God showed me come from me to them.
The next operation that we're about to prepare for is a 14-month-old baby who has a possible amniotic cord around the right arm.
In the hours to come, everyone's faith will be tested. At the Northwest Haiti Mission Hospital, doctors and nurses prepare for major surgery.
She was born with abnormality in the hand where the blood vessels were not forming properly, and all the blood from the arteries were going into the veins, and it created a lesion or a mass that was growing and destroying her arm.
There's no time to lose. But in this medical environment, the outcome is far from certain.
We don't have the right instruments, we don't have a lot of the medicines we need, we don't have the tests that we need to diagnose things, so we're doing the best we can, and we don't want to hurt somebody.
Difficult though it may be, this is what the volunteer medical team is here for.
Jesus has told us many times in the New Testament that he went about through all the villages in Galilee and in Judea, teaching, preaching, and healing the sick. And so this is my role.
We've been incredibly lucky, and I just don't believe in luck. I think that we've got a higher power that's helping us out down here.
All the non-medical volunteers can do is pray and wait.
It's not working. We need to see that we're
And until we got into it, basically what ended up happening was we had to amputate her arm.
It's impossible to really describe what we do down here to people, to other people back home. They don't understand it.
Every day, tragedy walks the halls of the mission hospital. But it's not the tragedy that Pastor Tina dwells upon.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
How are you? I'm well. How are you? Good. I have seen you in clinic when God has healed your bodies. I have seen from the airplane how trees are growing in the mountains. And I have hope. In Haiti, you deal with so many extremes. The extremes are so profound. And it's somewhere in those extremes where God meets us. It's the most exhilarating thing I know to be able to bring life into a death situation and to rejoice and bring love into life situations. That's what it's all about.